So yeah, that's perfect. Okay, good. Fantastic. Sounds good. I appreciate you having me tonight. Absolutely. All good.
Bad today. I did not get to promote this at all today because I was gone all day, and of course my son works all day, so he can't do it. And so hopefully, they start getting notifications and it'll get on here.
Oh yeah, there's 10 people watching. It says so.
Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, cool.
I'm just
Yeah.
making sure we have audio.
Yeah, I don't know how this works to be honest because a lot of guys will message me.
Absolutely.
A lot of guys message me and tell me they're watching. Today I did not get
Oop.
to promote this.
Okay, so audio looks good. All right, yeah, we're good. I just, this is all new, so.
Yeah, right.
All right, we're all learning.
That's right. We're learning the hard way, but we're learning. All right. So
Yeah, I think I saw like over 100 people had accepted the invitation or were interested in the.
good. I didn't even get to look yet. I had a ton of emails and paperwork I had to do when I got back. I've been back since about 5 o'clock, but man, I just, you know how it goes. There's a lot going on. You got a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Well, yep, we're starting to get some quite a few people gathering now. Good.
Okay.
All right. So tonight we have Mr. Kevin Dunn and his lovely assistant Ginger, and we're going to go over Kevin's beautiful 1967 Firebird. And
There's Ginger.
there she is. This girl is a hard worker. I tell you what, if you watch any of Kevin's posts, she's. I think she does it all. She grinds, she welds.
Yes, I'm just here for comedy relief. I'm telling you.
Man, I tell you what, that girl's awesome. So,
Yes, she is.
so what we're going to do is we're going to go over from the beginning here with Kevin, how he acquired the car and how long he's owned it, and his journey through all the different engine combos and events that he's been involved with. So without,
I'll have to
you
fix
know
that
what?
later.
I got one thing I got to do real quick, Kevin.
Absolutely.
We have a guest that comes every week. He's been with us ever since we started our podcast, and his name is Philip, and he goes by Philip the Third, and he sent me a check last week for $1. He said he's going to sponsor us.
Yep.
So
Okay.
now all I need is $9.99 more, and we're in there.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Philip. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank
He
you.
will get his money's worth tonight.
Yes, he will. All right, Kevin. Well, hey, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, buddy. It's all
No.
you now. You go ahead and
How
do your
good.
thing.
Yeah, so the Firebird, this was my first car when I was 16. Gosh, had it since 1981. So I've had it a few years. It started life as a overhead cam 6, one barrel, two-speed automatic. So it was not, and when you're 16 years old, that's not cool.
Right. You want a
Six-cylinder.
V8.
Absolutely.
Right.
So at that, I belonged to the Omaha Pontiac Club at that point, and one guy, he had a 400 out of a GTO, and he's like, "Hey, I've got an old 400, you can have it." And I'm like, "Okay, when you're 16, that's cool." And went out to his place, and we walked out to the horse pasture, and there the block was sitting upside down in the mud. no, no manifold, just heads. So that was my free engine, and that was the very first engine I rebuilt in my life, and had it in this car
So were
for
you
quite a
16 when you rebuilt that engine then?
I was 16, 17, yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
And
that's
with the guidance of my dad. So
sure.
I can say I turned the wrenches, but Dad was an instructor at the General Motors Training Center, so I had some knowledge behind me.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Good for you.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it was a lot of fun. And so, gosh, I had the 400 in there for quite a while. It's had a variety of transmissions, everything from a Muncie 4-speed to a Turbo 400. Um, and then I autocrossed it. Once I got out of college, or actually prior to college, I was started autocrossing it up in Omaha.
Ah,
And college, it kind of sat on the back burners after that, and it actually sat for quite a few years. But then in 2016, I did my first Optima event with the car. It still had the 400 in it at that time, although I was running a Richmond 6-speed for a transmission, and that's what still is in the car today.
so you must only be like 35 years old
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
then. Well,
Although
cool.
I feel it most days.
Got a baby
You got,
face.
I've had this a day or two.
Yeah, because Optima
And
Challenge is, how long has the Optima Challenge been around?
they started in, I believe it was 2014. I think was their first one in 14.
Okay.
I won't swear to that, but yeah, they've been around a while.
Yeah, okay. So then so you got into the Optima thing, and then you were doing a little. So did you do the parking lot autocross, or did you actually go out on the tracks?
Out on the track. So part of Optima, it's a 5-facet event. You've got the autocross, the road course takes place at an actual racetrack. You've got the speed stop, which is an acceleration and braking test. And then you've got design and engineering. They want to know what you've done to your car to make it better.
Nice.
And then they've got a road rally section of it where they'll send you out on about a 1-hour cruise. They just want to know that your car really is a street car, can make it over speed bumps and not overheat and whatnot. So they truly try to make sure it's a street car.
Oh, nice.
And
Oh, well,
my
that's
my favorite part of the whole thing is I like the track day. I like the time on the track. It is hands down my favorite part of the Optima series. So I like to go fast.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So the first engine you had in the car then with the for that event, what did you have in there?
I had the 400, a Pontiac 400 with the 670 heads on it. Really just a warmed over stock engine, 30 over stock cam and everything. Nothing too radical.
And so how did that compete? Were you competitive in your class?
The nut behind the wheel needed a lot of work, but
Right?
the car was probably more competitive than the driver.
Okay, all right.
But it was fun. We're not going to win any prize money in the Optima series. I do it for fun. It's a blast. But mid pack generally is where I end up. So, but it's a ton of fun. I absolutely love it.
So what's your goals now? I mean, you obviously moved up to the Ram Air 5 program, so
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure you remember, but yeah, right around 2017, you and I started talking about the Ram Air 5 build, and we even got Ron Sutton involved a little bit and chiming in on it. And I wanted to build an engine with your Ram Air 5 heads on it, and that kind of took a back seat for a few years until, gosh, was it 2019? 2019 or
something like that.
I think it was 2019 when I finally pulled the trigger on your heads. And that's when I started building the engine that it's currently in here. That engine is a 455. It was a 71 block. 455, it's has a 4-inch stroke, so it's de-stroked to about a 446.
So you de-stroked it didn't stroke it, you de-stroked it.
I de-stroked it, yeah. So it's
Okay.
it's cute, and I did that for really to have a flatter torque curve, a more linear torque curve. In the Optima series, we need to run a street tire, and so what that does is, well, we can't run slicks, but what that does with a nice linear torque curve prevents you from just spinning the tires coming out of a turn.
Yeah.
Other than just lighting up the street tires, there's
So
no
now
point.
with the big port on those Raymer 5 heads and that smaller cubic inch, does the engine feel like it's making decent torque still?
It does. It absolutely does.
Good.
Let me see. In the first configuration on this, so we dynoed it with a 4-barrel, and at that point it made 614 horsepower. Torque was 550, and that peaked at 4,700 RPM.
Yeah, and I do believe that time though the cam might have been a little too far advanced, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. I know the second cam. I figured we'd be getting into that, but
Yep.
yeah, there was a point in time the cam manufacturer. I misread the cam card basically. It said to I took it as install it 4 degrees advanced. What it actually meant is they ground the cam with 4 degrees of advance.
Right.
But when I installed it, I installed it 4 degrees in advance, so I had a total of 8 degrees advance. So
Yeah, that's a little too much.
it is, yes. And so I can't confirm that I did that on the first cam. I absolutely know I did do that on the second, but I got a feeling I made the same mistake both times. So
Yeah, because we were thinking that you were going to make somewhere around 660, 670 horsepower, and it fell a little short. So
right, yeah. The other thing I think we ran into on that is I was running a 950 carburetor at that time, and we had just about maxed out the jets on that thing.
yeah,
99 and 100 front and rear, I believe. And I think it would have benefited from a 1050, probably immensely. And so,
probably. Yeah.
and probably even bumped up the torque. I would kind of expect the torque to be a little higher than the 550 that we saw. But yeah, live and learn.
No, that's what this game's all about, man, and we're all learning, so that's awesome. You know, at least you're willing to learn and figure it out. So many guys, if they fail the first time, they're done. They don't want to. They feel like they failed and they can't make it up. But this isn't what this is about. You know, everything is a learning curve, and you go back to the drawing board and figure it out, and you come back and see if your theories are theories or if they're facts.
Right, yes. Yeah, constant improvement. Always looking to, go better, stronger, faster.
Yeah, I don't want to rush you because I know you got a lot to say, but I do know that your sidekick, and I don't see her in the picture here. You guys are watching.
Victor has to come over here and say hi.
She's being bashful, but
My lovely assistant.
yes, she is very lovely. She does so much work on this car, guys. It's unbelievable. I mean, go through Kevin's page, and I mean, this girl's wearing a welding helmet. She's got old holy
Right.
jeans and T-shirt on, and I mean, this girl's a worker.
He's a fabricator, you name it, grinder, welder. What else have you learned?
Anodizing.
She learned how to anodize, yeah.
Very good.
Awesome.
I tell you what, that's every guy's dream. She got a sister? My wife's awesome. I'm just kidding. My wife's awesome too. She does all that.
Right.
As a matter of fact, that's how I knew my wife was a keeper, because when we were 16 years old, because I've been dating her since we were 16, and we've been married 43 years. Anyway,
Wow.
I changed the heads on my 68 Firebird in a snowstorm, and I told her the heads could not touch the ground, and she held the heads the whole time while we were outside in the
Oh
cold.
my gosh,
So I knew she was a keeper after that.
he's a keeper. They're a rare find.
Yes, it is. It's very rare to find a woman that'll do that for you, and you got one. That's awesome. But so anyhow, I'm sorry. So that the next stage in the development of the Ram Air 5 was you had to get it in the car after you did your dyno session. So
Yes.
what was involved there?
Again, Ginger was involved.
Yes, yes. That's why I wanted to get her in the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just looking at Facebook memories popped up this week. It was a year ago this week. We were dropping the engine in this, scrambling around trying to make a race at Laguna Seca out in California last May. So, yeah, just the engine's just been in the car about a year.
And you guys kicked butt. If it wasn't for you two working together like you did on that car, you would have never made that event. That was a lot of work you had to do.
Not at all, no.
So, and you both have full-time jobs, right?
We both have day jobs, yeah.
So,
No.
and Kevin's got a little side business too. So not only has he got a daytime job, he's got a side business, and he's trying to go racing.
All of the above.
Yeah, that's a lot.
She's the perfect partner in crime.
So how did the header development? Did she design the headers for you, or did you design?
Oh no, no, nothing like that.
Okay.
No, the headers. I just again, that's nothing I'm an expert at or anything, but I just started out mapping it out, cutting tube, and tacking it in there, trying to avoid everything. The starter, I mean, you've done it before. You've got to. There's a lot of rinse and repeat going on. It's like seeing
Yes, there is.
And I'm running two and a. Well, they're a stepped header, 2 1/8 down to 2 1/4. So they take up a lot of room under there.
Yeah, they do.
They were tight. I'm not going to kid you. So, but that was my first attempt at making headers. Right or wrong, yeah, they're done, and they're side pipe headers because I'm running side pipes on them.
Yeah,
So,
that's a lot of work.
It made me really appreciate these guys that do it for a living. They're truly artists.
So did you build them out of stainless, or are they mild steel?
They're stainless, yeah.
Oh, good deal. Yeah, cool.
Stainless. And,
Now I gotta ask, who did all the welding on those? Well, I seen her with a welding helmet and the torch. That's why I was wondering. I thought she did all the welding.
Although I think she practiced on some stainless, and I'm by no means. I don't know if I call myself a welder. I melt metal, but I'm trying to learn TIG welding, slow but sure. But
that's an art. That is an art.
It really is, and stainless is a whole other beast, and
yeah. It takes some getting used to. MIG welding's a little different. It's pretty easy to learn, but boy, TIG welding, you got to be pretty coordinated.
Yeah. I ended up MIGging these just in the interest of time because we were scrambling trying to get to Laguna, and
I know you were, and that's hard, man. So, but yeah, so so you guys get the headers all built. And so your first time at the event, this is all brand new combination, brand new engine, brand new suspension. I mean, you had a lot of new components on that car.
Right. And actually for that very first event, I was at that point running my 8-stack carburetor. I went out there with the 8-stack. And because over the last winter, winter of 23 is when I was working on that, developing it. So, yeah, we had a lot of changes on that very first event.
Yeah, I mean, so and so it was a success because you went out You didn't blow up the engine. That's always a good thing.
I did not blow up, and that, that event was essentially a kind of a test and tune type event. Not out to see, not out to win anything, but Laguna Seca is a fantastic course. Just, I had a blast.
And that was the first time at that track, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
So that was kind of a dream track for you, I think.
It was a bucket list track. She would vouch for it. I was hell bent on making it to that track. And
you
she
guys
was right along with me. She got to take some laps around Laguna with me.
No kidding. You actually got to ride in a car. Oh,
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I didn't think they allowed passengers.
There was some parade lap type stuff going on.
Gotcha.
So yeah, nothing crazy fast or anything, but yeah, they had a time when you could have passengers.
So after that event, what did you learn?
Oh gosh, I need more power. I want to go back.
Right?
but that's always the case.
Yeah. Well, I think that you had the stack injection on at that time, didn't you not?
I did, yes.
Okay, so that was another thing that you were learning with. So you had a lot of learning curves going on.
100%, yeah. And again, in that manifold design, I'm by no means a manifold designer, but again, I jumped into it and wanted to see if I could do that, because nobody makes an 8-stack manifold for a Pontiac. And,
yeah. No kidding.
so I jumped into that. And I know you've seen the older version of that, but yeah, they had carbon fiber runners. That was another thing I got to learn is, hey, how do you make carbon fiber runners?
Kevin's not afraid to jump in, guys. He
So-
will dive in the deep end. But that's good. So yeah, so you found out that for whatever reason the engine wasn't RPMing, and did you resolve that issue or?
Well, that really Laguna's a fairly short track. It's not a real high speed track. It's more of a technical course. And again, I was super happy with how the car handled. It ran fine. Throttle response was good. It wasn't until it would have been 2 months later I went to Road America up in Wisconsin. And that's a fast track. It's 4 miles around. Hands down, my favorite track out there. I make it every year. This front stretch there, don't get me lying, but I think it's close to 3,000 feet. Anyway, super long straightaway, and down the straightaway, it would plateau. I would hit 135 miles an hour, and it just nothing more.
Okay.
And the car should be doing more than that.
Absolutely, I agree.
I ought to be in the 150, 160 range. And so, but it just kind of would plateau, fall on its face. So that got me to thinking, and we talked about it a little bit, about my manifold design, the runner, the shape and the design. I got a sneaky feeling, they're sitting back here on the bench behind me, but the first runner design on that takes a pretty sharp bend, and I got a feeling fuel was falling out of suspension on it, or something. I tried like heck to get somebody to do CFD analysis or simulation on the model, and it just if I found somebody, it was tens of thousands of dollars to run a simulation. So
which is crazy, because it really doesn't cost them that much to do that. So
it's just their experience and the software. But yeah, it's an expensive undertaking. So I never was able to run a CFD on the model. That would have been interesting to maybe tell me where the turbulence was happening or what was happening with the air fuel mixture.
And I think the first carburetors you had were pretty small on there too, weren't they?
Those were Weber IDFs, 48 IDFs, and they're size-wise, I think they're okay. I go back and forth and I hear different stories. They ran them on Ford 427s back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But again, something was definitely going on, and yeah, just not making the power and top speed that I was after. And so that led me to version 2 of this manifold, of the 8-stack. And also a change on the carburetors. The Weber IDAs are more of they're more of an all-out race carburetor. The IDFs are pretty street friendly. The IDAs, that's what you would have seen the GT40s run or the Cobras running. They're a much larger carburetor than the IDFs. So I set out to design a new manifold, and I took the runners and I moved them outboard, essentially shortening up the runners, and now they are much more vertical. Whereas the other ones, they were kind of moved in real narrow, and the runners kind of took a hard turn down to the cylinder heads.
Okay.
So this new one, and I just say, well, later on, or whenever we can grab the camera, I can show you some up close and personal shots of it. They are a much straighter runner, just right down to the port. They're almost vertical. And so, yeah, moving them outboard, I think, was a really good thing. It definitely improved the linkage geometry, which it was just win-win. Version 2 was definitely a lot better. So I'm trying to think time frame. That was early fall last year when I had that developed. Got it on the car in October and had that ready for an event. It's the Lake Garnett Grand Prix Revival that we ran it at. And that was the first time I had run that manifold. And I gotta stop and think, that was still with the IDFs, but the new manifold design, shorter runners moved outboard, but still running the IDFs. Throttle response was fantastic, hugely improved over the version 1 of the manifold. So I knew I was going in the right direction on that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you're. I was just thinking
Okay.
out loud. So. Go ahead.
But throttle response was fantastic at that event. And that's the type of event, it's more of an exhibition of speed, it's not a race, so things weren't real crazy, but it was fast enough I could tell the performance definitely improved. And so over the next couple of months, I went into a manifold design using IDA carburetors, the Weber IDAs, and that is the all-out race, much larger carburetors. That's what's on the car right now, but I have yet to run an event with those on there. I've tooled around in the neighborhood and they seem fine, but I've got the first event coming up in about a month that I'll get to really uncork them and see how it performs.
What kind of fuel system do you have on the car?
I'm running a Aeromotive regulator, fuel pump, electric fuel pump and regulator.
Okay, so do you have the Aeromotive 1000 pump, or what do you have for a pump?
Oh, don't get me lying on the model number. I'm not sure.
The reason I asked that is because I had another customer that he was telling me kind of a similar story, and his car was just plateauing on him. And so anyhow, and he didn't believe me, but he did it anyway.
Okay.
It's a street strip type car, and he was running like 1120s in a quarter mile at like 116 mile an hour, I think is what it was. And I said, man, your mile an hour is really low for the ET you're running. And I said, you got a fuel delivery problem. And he said, well, I got this pump, I got that. And so anyhow, long story short, I told him, I said, change over to half-inch line, put the Aeromotive 1000 pump on it, get the Aeromotive regulator on that thing, and then get back to me after you do that. He did that. That was the only changes he made to the car, and the car went 1040s at like 128 mile an hour.
He picked up a lot then.
He picked up huge. He couldn't believe it. I mean, he tells everybody about that story now. So, yeah.
I am running a half-inch line from the tank up to the regulator, and yeah, And then, these Webers are kind of a different beast. They want a fuel pressure of no more than 3 pounds. They're super low. They do not like anything over 3 pounds.
So
pressure
now,
low.
do you have the regulator in front of the carburetors or behind the carburetors?
In front of.
Well, then you may want to change that.
Okay.
Because if it's in front and you got to run that low of fuel pressure, you're restricting the fuel big time. And so if you put the regulator after the carburetors on the return side of it,
Okay.
now you have full volume coming to the carburetors, but you can keep the pressure down.
Okay. That's easy enough to do. Interesting. I had not thought of that. So.
Yeah, that's another thing I see guys do. They always put the regulator in front. Don't put it in front, put it after. And always run a return line. Yep.
Yeah, it's running a return line. But okay.
So anyhow,
Very good.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to help as we go here.
No, you've got me thinking now. Is how I'm already re-plumbing it in my head.
Well,
Hold on a minute. I'm going to change it.
Well, pop the hood on that bad boy. Let's see that thing.
Do that. Okay.
Our audience is probably salivating over here, and I'm using the wrong kind of term, but that's how I talk.
I'll have my lovely assistant grab the camera here.
There you go. Perfect. This, pardon my French, this is badass, guys. Check this out.
Well, we might have to, you tell me where you want to see the camera.
She's doing good. You know what? Let's look down one of the throat of the carburetors there. That would be cool to see.
Okay, let me see if we're going to get a light in here too. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And check out that little Pontiac emblem. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. No, I was gonna say the Pontiac emblem on the custom-made throttle linkage.
Yeah. On the I machined that, the little bell crank. I'm like, well, I can't just put a boring bracket in there.
Right. And and if I'm not mistaken, I think I seen you machine the whole water neck assembly too, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
You get a shot of that. Yeah. So. I know we talked about everybody does different things on that, and there's a little better light on the subject.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Yeah.
So now, what's the difference, Kevin, between the IDA and the IDF?
Let me. I tell you what. We'll see if. Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna set that there. I think you can see the carburetor still.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to grab the other manifold with the IDFs, and just for I'm just going to set him up here real quick. But so,
Boy, look at all
it
that
might be
glitz
hard-
and glamour.
Right.
yeah. Hold on. Okay. So I don't know if you can tell, but these IDAs are considerably taller than the IDFs here.
Okay.
And also the IDFs are closer together, whereas the IDAs they're just a huge carburetor. They are.
So they probably are going to make more torque because they have more length to the runner.
I'm hoping so. Yeah. I'm going to swing around to the front here. You can kind of see what I meant about the runners.
Yep.
Just much more vertical than the original carbon fiber one.
Yeah.
Somewhere out on my page, I know I've got these carburetors sitting side by side, and the size difference it's just substantial. It's huge.
Can you kind of turn that up so we can see the bottom side of that intake manifold?
Yeah.
Ginger's going to flex her bicep there.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
Oh, he made a Firebird emblem this time.
Yeah. So yeah. So
cool.
that was version 2 on the bell crank. It did a Firebird, and then
Always improving. I like it.
of course Ginger anodized it, and
Nice.
Yeah.
Like she said, she's learning. Boy, I tell you what, those middle runners sure look like a restriction to me. That's why I wanted to see that.
Oh, no, okay. Well, and they've got to be that far apart.
Yeah,
Just, otherwise I run into a linkage issue. I,
Yeah.
I can't get the carburetors any closer together. Or can you still see that on the
yeah,
camera?
I can see it. Yep.
Yep. We can see it.
Okay. Yeah, so I can't move the carburetors any closer together because I noticed the same thing, but they've got to spread apart. If
Yeah.
it's,
That's a bummer. Well, then we'll have to revisit that maybe and see if there's a way that we can design. I hate putting you through it, but maybe we can redesign that center runner a little bit different. Maybe come down and go over towards the center a little bit more, and still maintain your carburetor spacing.
oh, okay.
So in other words, it'd have more of a dog leg in it instead of like a you know, it's just kind of pinched off right there.
Yeah, it's it was a tough challenge to overcome.
It
And-
is. It's
Oh,
hard
yeah.
to hard to get these things to work right, and it
And,
just takes
you know,
trial and error.
I didn't want to turn too sharp and then come over here and then down because then I'm kind of back to where I was with
Right.
fuel just hitting the wall, dropping out of suspension. And
I agree. Sometimes, you know what, like NASCAR, what they do is a lot of their big track engines, the end exhaust ports are actually smaller than the center ones. So they make different size intake ports.
oh, okay, gotcha.
So maybe you have to make those runners bigger on the center instead of small, like the end ones.
Oh, good
What
point.
if you
Yep.
angled them a little bit?
Yeah, maybe I don't know. I mean,
I don't know how the throttle linkage works exactly, but
well, we'll see how it runs with the setup you have, and then
Yeah, and really probably the first event I really probably won't learn a whole lot. That's a hill climb that I'm doing, so it's going to be twisty turny mountain road down in Pineville, Kentucky,
okay.
and then the second event is going to be a land speed event in Arkansas. It's a 1 mile airstrip, and just nothing but flat out how fast can you go, and it's a 3-day event, and I'm planning on swapping out manifolds and trying different manifolds, just to see, try to learn a little bit about it. And,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
so I ought to learn a whole lot from that event, how these do it. And honestly, I think I'll put the 4-barrel back on for one run as well, because I know what it dynoed at. I know how it performed.
Yep.
And then put these guys on. I may run both the IDF and the IDAs, and see how they do.
Sounds like you got your work cut out for you, Ginger.
Yes, she does. I'm going to set this over on the bench again. And
yeah, we have Richard Guido.
Richard's with us
Yeah.
tonight, Kevin. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he said, interesting that he still runs a mechanical water pump like I do. Must work well to keep it cool racing.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your next event you're going to run is when? When's that coming up?
That'll be April 19th,
Okay.
Pineville, Kentucky. And that'll be a hill climb. That's the first type of, I've never done a hill climb, but looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. You know, the car handles fantastic. It won't be a super high speed, obviously.
Right.
But
But you'll need a lot of torque to do that, so that'll tell you a little bit.
it will, yeah, it really will. And like I say, throttle response seemed to be much better on this. The top end is is the big unknown with this combination right now.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
how I always judge my torque of my engines whenever I make a change like you did. Low gear is usually pretty much a waste. You can't even get on in low gear.
Yeah.
So we put it usually in second gear, and then if the engine's too powerful, then we put it in third gear.
Okay, yeah.
And then that way and then just lay into it, and you'll be able to tell, you know, if it's bogging or if it's sputtering or whatever.
Yep.
Once it's under that kind of load.
And I'll be able to try, you know, many turns in different gears and see how it performs coming off of a turn. So yeah, that'll be
ideal way to test it. Try second gear on this turn, third gear on that turn, and
Yeah. So that you got the hill climb event coming up, and then you have the all out top end speed route.
yeah. And then the first weekend in May, we're going to be headed to Arkansas. It's part of the ECTA, East Coast Timing Association. And really, it's a 1 mile airstrip. Actually, I think it's longer than that, but the timed event is 1 mile. And it's really just see how fast your car can go. And I'm really going to use that as a tuning session and a testing session, I should say. I'll learn a whole lot more about this setup, see how it affects the top end of the car. I'll be able to compare that with what it did at Road America last year. Shooting for in the 150 to 160 range, but we'll see.
That'll be a perfect test event for that. So.
It really will be, yeah. Really looking forward to that. So hopefully I can come away with some good data on that event. And then in June, at the end of June, I'm back at Road America. So ideally, I'd like to have this all mapped out and tuned the way I'd like it after the land speed event in preparation for Road America.
That'd be fun. Now, do you run this on pump gas or race gas?
Race gas. I'm running Sunoco 110.
And what's your compression ratio?
It's 10.8.
Ooh, you know what?
Yeah,
you could probably run 93 octane.
You think I could?
I think so. I would start out first mixing it. I would mix it 50-50 and see what happens.
Okay.
And believe it or not, you'll pick up power if it likes it.
Okay. Well, I'll take that.
Yeah. And it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper, yes. Yeah.
So yeah, I would try that. Keep mixing it until you keep going down and down and down. I did that with that's another story. Another customer that he did that with his aluminum head, and he's got 11 and a half to 1 compression on a 15 cubic inch motor, and he's running 70% pump fuel now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Save money and more power. I'm all for it.
Heck yeah. So yeah, well that's cool, man. So so this was your high school car, and you've had it since you were 16 years old. Bought it with a overhead cam 6-cylinder in the thing, or did it have the Chevy 6 in it?
No, it had the Pontiac overhead cam. Yep.
Okay. And then you developed it for road racing. How come you did road racing and not drag racing?
I don't know. Just growing up, I was always watching Indy cars racing and Trans Am racing. I really loved the old Trans Am racers, and yeah, I just fell in love with the road racing, the handling, and just yeah.
Well, your car's got to get a lot of attention out there on the track. I mean, that thing it looks angry sitting still.
It does look angry. It's hard to miss. Yeah.
Does it draw a crowd when you're at the track?
Oh yeah. Yes, it does. And then opening the hood, I've got to start filming people when I open the hood. And Ginger will attest to this. It's almost comical sometimes when they
well,
pop
there
the
you
hood.
go, Ginger. You got to be standing over there with that cell phone and get ready.
New job.
We've had some real good laughs over people's response when they open the hood.
Well, they probably don't even know what the engine is when they look at the cylinder head. They probably don't know.
No. It's like, what are those massive heads? So, and then you
doesn't look like a Pontiac head. So
no, and then you throw on the 8-stack, and they're like, "What is this thing?"
It's a Kevin Dunn special.
Yeah, exactly. And the other comment I get a lot, I'll come in off the track, and people will come over to the pits, and they're like, "That doesn't sound like an LS. What are you running?" Like, no, it's not an LS.
That is awesome.
Yep.
That gives you a little bit of something to smile about.
Yeah, they are amazed it's a Pontiac. So.
That is cool. So Did you have any trouble? Like, how much have you road raced? I mean, have you road raced quite a bit, or you just kind of just as a hobby and?
As a hobby, you know, I like I say, I've done it since 2016, and I'd like to do more. Honestly, I really enjoy the road racing, and like I say, this year I'm branching out doing a few other things. I like the hill climbs, the land speed, so I'm trying to mix it up this year. But road racing is definitely by far my first love.
Oh, I don't blame you. You're in the car a whole lot more than you are drag racing, that's for sure.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
You
Yes.
get to enjoy it, and you're drag racing down the straightaway, and then you have to make a hard left or right.
Right. Stand on the brakes, and I won't take anything away from drag racing, but yeah, I enjoy it a lot.
I would love to do that. It just, oh man, it just takes so much work and effort, as you've proven through the years. So, do we have any questions from the audience here for Kevin?
Really, no questions. Just everyone saying how beautiful your car is, Kevin, and
Thank you.
they're happy that you're putting that out there on the track, showing these new cars that a first-gen 55 to 56-year-old Pontiac can hang in there and perform like them. Let's see here. Ed Page says it's very nice.
Okay.
And Richard said, such a cool car, must be a blast to drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bet it is. And also, by the way, his Facebook page, Kevin Dunn, he has videos of him road coursing this car, which the video is amazing, by the way. I watched a few of them, and you have the speed, you have the elevation you're at, all that stuff on there, and a perfect shot.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
screen, which is cool.
Yeah.
I try to do in-car videos at every event, and I will for this hill climb. I'll have the Garmin cameras turned on. I usually have 2 or 3 cameras on the car to get various shots, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I'll be doing that again for
Yeah,
sure.
that's awesome. Dwayne did ask, what gears are in the rear end?
It's a 355 rear end, and I'm running for the transmission. I'm running a Richmond 6-speed. It's got a .76 high 6th gear. The first gear in it, honestly, it's a little too low. It's a 328 first gear, which is just crazy. It's almost a parade gear. Second gear is right around 220, I believe. But yeah, rear end is a 355.
Okay. B&R Racing asks, do you use a full floating NASCAR type 4-inch?
9-inch.
9-inch Ford differential.
I do. It's a full floater. Yep.
Okay.
Is that mandatory for that class or no?
It's not. No. It prevents piston knockback on under braking is where it's really benefits. Keeps you from having to get off the pedal and back on it.
I gotcha.
Where braking is very important in the road racing versus drag racing.
Right. Exactly right.
Yep.
Running Willwood brakes, and
Okay.
they're fantastic.
What kind of suspension modifications have you made?
It's all coilover. The front suspension is a combination of Speed Tech control arms and Ride Tech coilovers. The shocks are a Ride Tech shock, but they've got Ron Sutton's secret sauce valving in it. And same for the rear, same shocks for the rear. The rear suspension is a Speed Tech torque arm suspension, a coilover. But yeah, so yeah, no more leaf springs or or any of that. So.
So does it still ride on the factory subframe and rear frame rails?
It is, yeah. It's a factory
wow.
subframe. I've not changed that out at all. And
Cool.
I say, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. How wide is your tires?
Yeah, they are 19 by 12 square.
Oh, okay.
And 345 Yeah, 19s, yeah, square.
Big tire.
Yeah.
There's some big meats, yeah.
What's your car weigh?
Too much.
Don't they all?
Yes, yes. I weighed that at Road America last year. It was right around 37, 38.
Wow.
So it's a heavy car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure with all these changes, I'll have to weigh it again this year.
What is the weight of the other cars in the class?
Well, we've got a minimum 3,200 pound
Okay.
in that class. So yeah, I can still drop.
You need to go on a diet, man.
I do. So does the car.
I don't think you're going to be able to lose 500 pounds, though. I might
No,
be wrong. I don't know.
No, I can't. But the car could lose 500 pounds easily, but again, you know, I'm out there for fun. It is what it is.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Do you have a fuel cell, or is your fuel tank baffled?
It is a fuel cell. It's not the stock tank. Nothing super fancy, not an ATL cell or anything like that. I think when I put that in, I was in budget mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and that may be an upgrade I'll do in the future. Again, that's kind of leading into another type of event that I'd like to do. Some of these Silver State Classics where it's literally like a 90-mile course, flat out for 90 miles. I would need a bigger fuel tank.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. That, so is your car street legal? Do you drive it on the street?
I do, and that's the thing about the Octopus series. It has to be a street legal car.
Okay.
Has to be licensed, insured, and they check that. They check that at the events. Your headlights, turn signals, you have to have a radio, dome light. They check it all. You got to have a heater. It's got to work. And every tail light, every bulb, they check it, and it's part of the point system. So if anything's not working, it's a deduction.
So you can go hang out with Richard Guido then.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys can go cruising together.
Yep, for sure.
That's cool.
I don't know if I would drive this from Canada to Florida in February, but
You got
Yeah.
a heater.
Yeah, Richard's not called Chuck Norris for no reason, I can tell you that.
no, he's a badass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And speaking of him, he asked oil pan and accumulator. Are you running a special type of oil pan or a oil accumulator?
I'm not running an accumulator. That will change in the future. As far as the oil pan, I am running a Canton road race oil pan,
Okay.
and super happy with it.
Are you
But
seeing
yeah,
any, you see any
Go ahead.
bearing, have you seen any bearing issues with that pan?
well, I've not had the engine apart since running it. Literally just this past year.
Okay.
Yeah, time will tell. You know, at Road America, there's one turn called the carousel, which is real high G-force, and that has wiped out some engines. If you don't have a dry sump, I haven't had any problems with there. I'm always watching the oil pressure going through that area. Everything's so far so good. I'm running a different type of oil pump. It's a gerotor type pump, and
Okay.
so far pretty happy with it.
What brand is that?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask that. I can't say it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it eludes me.
Well, there was
Yeah.
a guy that I was working with out west, and unfortunately, he got wiped out in some of the flooding that went on out there. And we were designing a rotor-style oil pump for Pontiacs.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
And
I-
but unfortunately, the guy's shop got wiped out and put that project on hold.
Okay. I did that because I went with a little higher pressure and a higher volume pump. I think, I'm not sure, I think we've talked about my oil cooler system in this, but I'm actually running oil coolers that are mounted in the trunk rather than out front. I didn't want to block any more airflow up front. So they're plumbed, yeah, clear to the back. Air inlet for those coolers is on the side of the car in the NACA ducts. And then exhausted. I did a YouTube video kind of walking through that whole system, but then they're exhausted out the trunk just below the rear window.
Huh. So you're running a wet sump deal then. Do you have an external oil filter, or do you still run it at factory location?
It's remote. It's right up front here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, with all that additional plumbing, I've got a little more oil capacity as well.
Yeah, but it probably helps to keep cooler too, though.
It can't hurt. Yeah, and the cooler generally drops about 10 degrees. So every little bit helps. And
yeah. Do you monitor your oil temperature on the track?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
And what's it run at typically?
Around 210.
That's not bad.
No, it does a good job keeping it down. Like I say, I've been super happy with the results on that. And
yeah.
It used to climb a little higher, and I can turn the. There's also a fan on the coolers, so I can run them if I'm sitting stationary in the pits. Otherwise, at speed, those NACA ducts really draw some air. They work really well, drawing air in.
Cool.
And but yeah, to Richard's point, an accumulator, I'm planning on adding and plumbing that in. I've got perfect access to it just up front, so just as a little safety feature, it wouldn't hurt that.
Well, you are running the same oil pan as him, so he says it works well.
Okay, yeah, trap doors and baffled. I like it. It's a real nice piece. We did have to modify the pan a little bit. That gerotor pump, it's a big unit, so the pan had to be modified just slightly.
Well, there's a company called Titan. Is that the company?
I think you're right. I think that is it.
Yeah. Okay. They make the rotor style instead of a spur gear. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's been a couple years.
6-speed, right, Kevin?
Yes.
Say again?
6-speed transmission?
It is, yeah. Richmond 6-speed.
Okay.
Yep.
Richard was asking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So what do you use for a clutch in that thing then?
Center force.
Okay.
Yeah.
So nothing trick then.
No, not at all. I've ran them for several years and super happy with them.
Yeah, nice.
And the orange matches my car, so.
There you go. You had to buy that one.
Right. I had to. Now they just sponsor me.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
So now, do you think that you're going to need any more rear end gear with that, with these cylinder heads, or you think you're pretty good there?
I to be determined. I really don't know.
Yet. Right.
And all that was in place with the old 400, and that 400 was just getting tired. I built that when I was 16, 17 years old, and it had never been apart until I took it out of the car in 2016, 17.
Wow.
Never had the heads off, never had the bottom end apart. And I was autocrossing it that whole time.
That's pretty amazing for a Pontiac engine.
It's well, Dad. I credit Dad because he made sure I built it right.
Well, that's awesome. He must have knew what he was doing.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah. Well, good for you guys. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
So, well, hey, you know what? We're running. We've run over a little bit, but I don't mind. I enjoy you guys' company, and I appreciate you showing up tonight and sharing with our audience what you have going on there. And even though Ginger hid the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to coax her to come back over.
Right. Well, you guys keep up the great
She's
work.
the brains behind this operation.
She's not taking any credit, but you know what? I see that girl work, so I know she works hard.
We have proof, yes.
Yes, you do. You've taken pictures, and that's good.
I should have had her talking all night tonight. I've got a face for radio, so I don't know what.
Well, you guys make an awesome team, and I do appreciate your company tonight. This was fun.
Yep.
So,
I appreciate you having me. This was a blast.
Yeah.
well, good. Well, you know what? Well, once you get back from these events this year, maybe we'll bring you back later this season and get your input on how you think everything went and share that with our audience. So that would be fun.
I would absolutely love that. Yep.
Absolutely. Next time
I'll
we'll
have
get Ginger to talk a little bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
I
mean,
think
you know what?
so.
If she would just shut up just a minute, so you can.
Right. Yep.
Well, hey
Love
guys, it's a little after 8, and we always try to keep this around an hour. I appreciate it. I know you didn't get everything in that you wanted to do. That's why we will definitely have you back.
Yeah.
But
I've had this car 43 years. I could talk half of that time. So.
well, it's fun,
Yeah.
man. That's why we call this bench racing. You know what? That's what this podcast is about. And and we definitely appreciate all your input here. It's fun it's more fun for us, I think, than it is for you. But
Yep.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad.
Yep.
Well,
hey,
thanks
guys,
again for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
And,
You bet.
and you know what? Thank you, Philip, for the check.
Yeah.
Now we just got to get $999 more dollars. If I get that, I'm in there. That's $1 million. I can buy the equipment I need.
That's right.
He got his money's worth tonight.
Yes, he did. All right, guys. Well, hey, good night, and
Yep.
thank you again.
Yep.
You bet. Good night.
Good night.